Hi there. Welcome to the Cloudy May update for this 2.5 year long PhD in writing experiment that I'm on. This is month 5. So if this is your first time hearing about this and you just came across my video randomly, thanks for being here. I post these monthly updates to check in, uh, to keep myself accountable mostly, and also just to let people know how it's going. I quit my job uh, at the beginning of the year and decided to not trade my time for money for the next 2 years so that I can finish my PhD and publish my memoir. So that's what these updates are all about. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate having the Substack community as like an outlet for getting out my frustrations, but also my inspiration and my hope. So I'm glad y'all are here. Everything that I say in this video is written probably more eloquently in the long form post below with a lot of links. So I'll reference the links as I talk through. But if you don't feel like listening to me or can't or whatever, go read it. It's all there. So the first few links that I have are just to catch folks up on what it is that I'm doing. I have a post from February called Voluntary Vow of Poverty, explaining how because I quit my job, I don't have an income, and I'm living off of a grad plus student loan, how I'm managing that. And then I have video updates for each month so far, so January, February, March, and April, linked. And also the video where I made the decision to do this back in October, and that post is called "Hold Your Nose, because here goes the cold water." So check those out if you haven't yet, so you can catch up on what it is I'm talking about. A couple things about the settings. So this is a cloudy May update. You're just gonna have to trust me. It is cloudy outside. I went outside. I was gonna video record outside, show off the clouds, but it's kind of chilly out there. And I'm like, I don't want to go back inside. So just trust me. It's cloudy right now. And I live in Southern California, and it's not as warm as it should be. It's cloudy. Also, I live next to uh, I live next to the railway tracks, so you hear the train come by every now and then. This is normal. And then lastly, I have a cough. Case in point, I'm getting over a cold or something, some nasty something. Um, but in any case, let's get to the big project here. So first, the PhD. It has been a really frustrating month for me with regards to my PhD. Um, I brought a hefty dose of evidence to the table to explain why I wrote a case study and why I wanted to finish this research tool that is required for my portfolio with a small homogeneous sample. And I was told no. I don't think my advisors considered the evidence I presented for why this was a good idea, and that's really disappointing. I have 25 interviews and will be spending the rest of the year analyzing every one. So the project that was supposed to be done this month is now pushed way back. The faculty at my school don't work during the summer too, so I wrote them an email asking, hey, is it still feasible for me to finish my PhD by May of 2028? And I haven't heard back yet. So after I had this meeting where they told me no, I was in a pretty low place. I'm better now, but I honestly considered stepping out. I thought, fuck it. Like, I'm not going to do this. But I'm doing it. I'm soldiering on. And I do want to believe that they have my best interests at heart. They are the experts. They were talking to me about publication, how it's important that I get this published. And I don't doubt their wise counsel as far as that goes. Just like with anything else and for anybody else, I just want to feel heard and that my concerns were considered. And I don't really feel like they were. Analysis takes about a week per interview, and that's if I'm having a very productive week. The Handbook on Interpretative Phenomenological Analysis, which I wrote about in a previous post in March, says the analysis stage of an IPA study of 3 cases may take at least 2 months of full-time work. So 4 cases in 4 weeks is ambitious, but here I am being ambitious, I guess. The handbook also says, in reference to a full dissertation, which I'm not even doing yet. This isn't even my dissertation. That was one of the things that I brought up to them. We often think of a PhD as being made up of 3 self-contained but related studies. In that case, it would be possible, for example, for the first study to be a single case study. That's what I did. The second to offer a detailed examination of 3 cases, and the third to examine a larger sample of 8 participants from a different location. So that's 8 plus 3 plus 1, that's 12 cases. I've got 25. I tried really hard to advocate for myself, and I lost. But I'm moving onward. On the other hand, a handful of my friends graduated this month. Some of them got their PhDs, others got their masters. I had another friend graduate with his bachelor's degree. And as long and boring as graduation ceremonies can be, I get really touched watching my friends walk across the stage, be hooded and dubbed doctors. So when we were celebrating at the reception afterwards, I was super happy for them and inspired by them. And they all said really encouraging things to me too, like, hey, just a couple of years, this is going to be you walking across the stage. And that's no small thing. Like that really sustains me. I'm like, yeah, man, yeah, I will. I'm going to do my best to make this happen. This project that I'm doing with the interviews I conducted last summer means more to me, in fact, than checking a box, which is why, despite the crazy amount of work I need to put into it, I'm sticking with it. My advisor offered to let me use data from her lab and do a quick thematic analysis, but I declined. That was the choice I made because I'd rather spend more time on something that means this much to me than any time on something I don't care half as much about. And I'm still preparing to present the findings that I have so far in Dublin at the European Conference on Positive Psychology, first week of July. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's how PhD things are going. Moving on now to the memoir. I'm experiencing frustrations with that too. When my mom came to visit me for Mother's Day, love your mom. I'm so glad you came to visit me. I know she watches all my videos and she reads all my posts, so I know she's going to see that. She asked how many drafts of my memoir I had written, and I opened up the folder on my computer and I showed her the work that I've done over the past few years. This is overwhelming, she said when she saw all of this, and I'm like, yeah, I know. I showed her how I track the query letters I've sent, the proposal drafts, the notes from workshops and conferences and retreats and residencies. I have spreadsheets for literary magazines I've submitted to and those that I want to submit to. I have a spreadsheet for character pseudonyms and query tracking. She also saw the audio tracks of the interviews I did with her for her story, the ones that I did with my dad, and the folder that I have with my brother's story. I collected all of those like 2 years ago. Well, my brother's story was just last year, but my parents' was like 2 years ago. So these are projects that are like waiting in the wings for when I finally get my memoir off the ground. So she saw that, and she saw the folder with the contract and notes from the developmental editor I had worked with. And we together, we counted up where my queries are at. So I have sent, at this point, a total of 34 queries. And this is where they currently stand. I've had 12 active rejections. I've had 12, I'm going to call them probable passive rejections, meaning basically that I haven't heard back from them at all, which is understandable. Some of them even say on their website, like, we're not going to get back to you unless we're interested in seeing more. So it's like a passive rejection. And then I have 10 that are pending, which means that I have sent these queries out in the last, in the last 2 months. So I'm still waiting to see what happens with those. So I'm not going to stop querying agents and trying to get my book traditionally published until I've received 100 rejections. So I guess you could say I'm about a third of the way there. I have also been really inspired by Belle Burden's Strangers, a memoir of marriage, which I just recently finished. The book is just so well written. I had my colored gel pens next to me every time I was reading it. I was taking notes in the margins, and I was like outlining, okay, this is where she talks about her marriage. This is where she talks about her past. This is where she talks about the aftermath, all of this. And it just made me feel like I could do this too. So I took all the notes from the margins in the book and I outlined the structure of her book, which was easy to do because it's so well written. And then I was like, oh, I can do this for mine. And I did. I outlined my own following the same structure. Our stories are not the same, although there are some seriously painful overlaps for me. Like, I wanted to bring an intergenerational lens to divorce. And she did that very blatantly. And it's not that I can't also do that, but I do feel now that she's, this book's come out, I need to acknowledge it somehow in my book, so it doesn't seem like I'm just copying her. But yeah, I'm still inspired by the structure of her book mostly. So most of the divorce memoirs I've read lately don't spend that much time on childhood. They spend more time on the aftermath of the divorce, even than talking about the marriage itself. And I wanted mine to be different. I wanted to focus more on the how did we get here part of the story. But the way that she does it, which is by using very minimal, straightforward language, short scenes. There's not a lot of dialogue. There's not a lot of scene setting. It's very minimal. And she uses flashbacks. It keeps the pace and the tension going so that you're turning every page. And I have to also acknowledge that she has a lot more going for her than I do. And I'm sure that contributed to her getting published. In fact, she didn't even go through the process that I'm going through. She didn't have a book and then pitch it, trying to get an agent. No, like she wrote a Modern Love column, and then agents came to her based on the press that the Modern Love column was getting. So she had a deal before her book was even written, and a lot of help. And I'm happy for her. But really, I'm just inspired because the memoir she wrote is so well written, and I think that I could bring some more structure to mine. And if the structure works, it works. So there you go. I've already been feeling like I want to rewrite this thing. So I'm probably going to do that when I get back from Dublin. I'll let you know. Anyway, that's how memoir stuff is going. On to the vow of poverty. I am simultaneously proud of myself and scared. So I'm in a situation that I haven't been in since 2018. And that is having to carry a balance on my credit cards for a few months. And that might seem like a silly thing to say, that really in the big picture, the grand scheme of things, it's like, who gives a shit? It's not that bad. All my needs will still be met. But I'm really proud of the fact that I haven't carried a balance on my credit cards for a long time. It feels really good to say that, to do that. Definitely helps my credit score. So, I mean, I know that I have plenty of student loan debt, but not credit card debt. And that has been a point of pride for me. So starting in July, I'm going to have to carry a balance on my credit cards because I'm running out of money and I'm not going to get another loan disbursement until late August. But I figure doing this, carrying a little bit of a balance on my credit cards is better than pulling money from the retirement accounts that I'm currently not actively contributing to. Like, I want to be able to retire someday, so I'm trying to avoid doing that. And I've considered, of course, taking on a student job over the summer. But I've only considered that briefly, because then I go and I remind myself exactly why I'm doing this in the first place. Like, I will not, for the next 2 years, trade my time for money, because I'm dedicating my time to my projects, not other people's projects where they pay me to do them. So I just, I'm knuckling down. So there's a screenshot in the long form post of the income and spending patterns that shows up on Rocket Money. And if you take a look at that, you can see that, like, I had a big chunk of income in January, and that was the payout from the student loans for the spring semester. And then I had my last paycheck in February. I get paid on a weird schedule as an adjunct professor. I work like August to December as I'm teaching during the semester, but then the pay is actually like September, end of September to end of February. So it's a little offset. So I got my last paycheck in February, and then you can see from the chart that there's like no income after that. But what's also good to see is that my spending has gone down. So I'm getting better at saving money. Aside from a few one-time large expenses, like in March, I bought the tickets for the plane ticket for Dublin and my accommodations there. And then I had to register my car, I had to pay taxes. So aside from these, like, one-time big expenses, like my day-to-day expenses, I've been able to keep pretty low. So that's going good. And this is all to say, I think I'm doing all right. I actually feel a little more hopeful despite everything, despite the setback with the PhD, despite feeling like I'm going to rewrite the whole memoir and being a third of the way through my rejections, I actually feel better about where I'm at now than I did at my last update post. So this is where I'm going to leave it. I also forgot to say, I intentionally wanted to try like having it dark and just having the camera lit by the light of my computer, because it like almost simulates one of those ring lights that I don't have because I refuse to spend money on it, and it makes my nose glow, and I think it's cute. Okay, thanks for sticking around. See you in a month.